Oh, this is gonna be so good. I cannot wait to see Jeremy Boring get blown the fuck out. AC Sal, thank you very much for gifting a sub to DB Wolf. An OG chatter for sure. Jeremy Boring is not a charismatic man. He does not do well in I've never actually seen him in a hostile environment. It's going to be very gratifying to see Bassem or Bassem Youssef. I'm probably not saying that correctly. Absolutely manhandle him. It's going to be glorious. Oh, here we go. Also, thank you for the support, everybody. I really appreciate it. Here we go. Wait. Oh, Salmon Moose, thank you for subscribing with Prime. I do really, really like, and my God, sad Marsh Ghost. Can you not condemn your people, the British? Can you not condemn them? What is this? Warning, this video contains swearing. It contains mean words. Warning. Warning, everyone. Lord Freydus, thank you very much for gifting a sub to Xenomonic. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And we got a hype train over on Twitch chat. Yeah, on little known fact, on old-timey world maps, you know that they drew like dragons. Well, the dragons were only drawn if the map maker was like Spanish or like Swedish or Norwegian or something, but if they were from England, they would draw swear words coming out of the water. The real danger, the salty mouths of sailors. Here we go.
Well, joining me now to discuss the conflict in Israel and Gaza is a TV host.
That's not true. That's not true.
Bassem, it's great to have you back on the program. I wish it was under different circumstances. First of all, what is your reaction to what happened on October?
God, he even kind of looks like Jon Stewart. Like, it's the hair. The hair is very like Jon Stewart. Man's got game.
October the 7th.
Oh, it was terrible, of course. I mean, we kind of get our news kind of also secondhand because, my wife's family, they live in Gaza. They have cousins and uncles there, and their house also was bombed. We haven't been able to communicate with them for the past 3 days. Communication are lost. So we don't know actually what is the, how are they doing, but, we're used to that. I mean, it's just like, it's very repetitive. We're used to that. We're used to them being bombed every time and moving from one place to the other. It's just like those Palestinians, they're very dramatic. Israel killing us. But they never die. I mean, they always come back. They're very difficult to kill, very difficult people to kill. I know because I'm married to one. I tried many times, couldn't kill her.
Jesus. The deadpan delivery of that was incredible, dude. Oh God. Okay. All right. I need to buckle myself in here. Okay. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, otherwise I might piss myself. This is great. I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back. BRB. All right. Based wife murderer. Oh no. Oh no. I know, this is only the start. I had to pee, otherwise I'd laugh too hard. Did you see Hamza Youssef, Scotland's first minister's family, got drone struck in Gaza? I did not. Yeah. I mean, just atrocity after atrocity is happening in the Gaza Strip right now.
I mean, there's a dark humor there, and I understand why. Because
No, it's not dark human. I try to get to her every time, but she uses our kids as human shields. I can never take her out.
Again, I understand the humor, but to be serious, Bassem, about this tonight, there
Okay,
is.
I will be serious. Now, I will be serious. I was watching your interview with Ben Shapiro, and I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I think that Ben Shapiro is one of the smartest people who ever walked this earth. He's very, very smart. I follow him, and I believe everything he said. And when he came on your show, his solution was, and I quote, his solution was that the solution for this is for Israel to annex Gaza and to kill as many son of bitches as possible to make sure that this will never happen again. And anyone who called for a ceasefire will be a terrorist sympathizer. So God forbid, I don't want to be labeled as a terrorist sympathizer. So I agree with Ben Shapiro. I think we should kill as many son of bitches as possible.
Well, let me.
So
Okay,
far,
but Bassem, let me.
so far, 3,500 people were killed, including 5,000 son of bitches in the bombing of the Baptist hospital as we speak right now. 1/3 of those 3,500 were children. So my question to Ben Shapiro is, how many more son of bitches do we need to kill so Ben Shapiro is happy?
Okay,
because it changes
Bassem,
from
let
1
me
year.
just stop you
It
there to
changes
say-
from one.
let me just-
Yeah, also, like, you know, how is Ben Shapiro scoring this? Like, what is his scorecard? Is it, and does a child count as half of a son of a bitch? Like, what how is he counting?
I'm sorry that. Listen. I'm really at a disadvantage here. I'm looking at a camera. I don't see you. I can hear you on my
The
ears.
reason I'm interrupting
so
is
please
I
give me
think
a
it
little
might
bit
be.
of a space.
I think you're conflating different interviews with Ben Shapiro. He didn't use the phrase "sons of bitches" with me. Let me play to you what he actually said on my show.
He did. Go back to your interview.
No, he didn't. That was another interview. But let me play what he said to me here.
Well,
He didn't. It was another interview. Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
frankly, I don't believe in proportionate response to terrorism. I believe that the way that you stop terrorism is with wildly disproportionate response. That doesn't mean in terms of targeting civilians. It means in terms of killing as many terrorists as humanly possible.
And, you know, if you have to kill a few kids to hit those terrorists, go for it. Am I right?
Allowing them to dictate the terms of engagement by hiding behind civilians in areas that they're supposedly responsible for.
You're right, Ben. That, you know, if they're hiding behind civilians, god damn it, you gotta kill those civilians too, am I right? Hey, Spock, thank you for subscribing over on Twitch. I appreciate it.
Means that the only option for Israel is to surrender to Hamas's hatred of its own citizens, its willingness to use its own children as human shields. No country worth its salt could ever do that.
Now that is substantively different to what you said he said, right? He's talking there
but
specifically about
I
Hamas
agree with him.
terrorists.
I agree. I agree with him. The thing is, the question is, what is a proportionate response? Because
Yes.
it has been different from one tier to another. So if you look to this graph, for example, this is the death of Israeli and Palestinians, and it's changing from 1 year to year. It's like fluctuating like crypto. So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is one Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? You
That's a good deal right there.
guys will be happy. That's my question.
Jesus.
Well, it's not me,
I
it's
want
not
to
me
know.
guys. I'm not on either side.
No,
here.
not you. Like when I
Yeah.
say you guys, I say like the people on the other side of that. I know that you don't think like that, Piers. You're one of the good guys. But let me tell you something. I mean, the reason that I'm using this is that I can't remember what happened in 2014, and there was
No, not you. You're one of the good ones, Piers. Oh my god, dude. The manhandling of Piers Morgan here is incredible.
no music festival. But there must be something. I mean, they must do something. It is their fault. It has to be something. I mean, 2018, 300 Palestinians died. Who's counting? You know. So the thing is, what my question is, let's find what is the exchange rate for human life today, so we know, expect the future death of Palestinians, and we'll be happy to it.
My response to that would be this, Bassem. I've thought carefully about this because I think it's very tricky for people like me to immerse ourselves into a conflict where we're not directly involved. And I thought carefully about what I feel about this. I feel that the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th supersedes anything else I've seen in this conflict, really ever. The savagery, yes, the butchery, the slaughter of 1,300 people, the shooting of babies, the 100%, kidnapping of grandmothers, and so on. So if we can agree on that, which I think is inarguable.
So we should kill an unimaginable amount of Palestinians. I agree with you, Piers. Yes, of course.
Then the question then becomes, again, about proportion. I don't disagree that there's been a lot of bad stuff on both sides going back historically for decades. But if we agree that this...
See, like that's the thing, right? That's what Piers Morgan does, and he says that he's condemned the IDF, right? That's his whole shtick. Like, oh, there's a lot of bad things on both sides, but that's not giving an accurate picture. You know, that this is like when CNN was doing, if we're going to talk about climate change, we have to have, someone who thinks that global warming is real, and we have to have somebody who thinks that global warming is fake, and then they they each have equal time because we want to be fair and impartial. But like, it's not much like global warming isn't like an impartial issue. Like 99.9% of the world's scientists know and agree that it's happening and is real. It is also true that there is not an equivalency here between like the oppression of the apartheid state of Israel and like the oppressed like people of Palestine. You know, like there's not even like parity between like the Hamas's number of fighters and the IDF. The IDF has like, like 15 soldiers for every one that Hamas has. Like it's not at all comparable. Like, this isn't a fight between equals. This is like an apartheid regime clamping down further and further and further upon the Palestinian people. And like, they don't have as much ability to fight back, as evidenced by the fact that they cobbled together fucking paragliders like they were in a Mad Max movie. Like, again, the framing of this as an equal conflict, a conflict between equals, is horrifically unbalanced. And it is one of the things that Piers Morgan is most guilty of.
Was on a different level altogether, quite deliberately by Hamas. Designed to provoke. No, here's my question. Let me ask you.
Yeah, it's like when the BBC had to have two economists on, one pro-Brexit, one anti-Brexit, and portrayed it as equal, despite the fact that they had to call up 1,000 economists to find one pro-Brexit economist. Yeah, good analogy. Wrestling with the news.
Good question. And the question, because you raised it earlier about proportion. I honestly don't know what the proportionate response is. I honestly don't. I don't. I've been watching.
Do you know what the proportionate response is not? Like if they killed everyone in Gaza, Piers, would that be a proportionate response? If the answer is no, well then you do know that there is some line under which it would be disproportionate. So like, what line is it? How many Palestinian babies need to die, Piers?
In the airstrikes.
So what's your question?
Well, I would ask you, if you were Israel, what would you?
If I was Israel.
If you were Israel and that had happened to you, what would you think would be the appropriate way for the country to respond?
I would do exactly like Israel did, kill as many people as possible since the world is letting me do it. I mean, I can do it because I can, you know? But the thing is, like, you know what? I agree with you. And you know what? I'm going to be even ahead of you because I see the question coming. Do you condemn Hamas for the atrocity? Yes, I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas is the source of all evil. They're a reason for everything. And you know what? Let's, for a minute, imagine a world without Hamas.
Right.
What will this word look like? Let's give this word a name, and let's name this word the West Bank. Hamas has absolutely no control in the West Bank, and since the beginning of this year, only through August, 37 Palestinian kids were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. Since the occupation of the West Bank, 7,000 Palestinians were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. I can go on and on and on and on.
No, but you don't need to, because in a way you're preaching to the choir. I've followed this crisis.
Oh no, you're not preaching. So the thing is, like,
well, in the sense that I know that what you're saying has validity. Of course,
Piers. By the way, Piers. I am at a disadvantage here. I can hear you. I cannot see you. I am in a claustrophobic room, and so please cut me some slack and don't interrupt me and interrupt my point.
Sure.
So, because this has to be fair.
Understand.
Because if you want to only hear your opinion, I can just condemn Hamas and go home. I can do that. So, do you want to do that, or do you have a much more nuanced conversation?
No, I absolutely want to have a nuanced conversation. I wasn't aware I was interrupting you. I thought I was letting you speak.
Amazing. So let's. I mean, I would say I really applaud Israel for doing one thing that no military force in the world does. Because I heard Ben Shapiro and I heard Ron DeSantis, and they said Israel is the only military force in the world that warns civilians before bombing them. I mean, how fucking cute. That is so nice of them. So, because with this logic, if Russian troops started warning Ukrainians before bombing their houses, we're cool with Putin, right? I mean, okay, Habibi, you have warned them, go invade. It's fine. You have done your job. I mean, the thing is, and I understand, and I also heard Ben Shapiro talking about Human Shield. So you remember my wife's family, they live in...
One thing that I am in awe of, frankly, is like, it's very clear to me that this guy is angry, but the way he is channeling it into humor here is wild to me. Like, I've never seen anyone do this. You know? Like, again, the comparison is like Jon Stewart cooking like Tucker Carlson on Crossfire. You know, like, this is... Or like when he cooked like the Congress for not passing support for 9/11 first responders. Like, this is on par with some of the... Yeah, it's... I don't even think that this is their... I don't think that this is like... there needs to be a word... There's not a word for this in English. Like, I'm trying to express something and there's just not a word that actually encompasses it. Guy seems edgier than Stewart to me. I don't know. Well, he's talking about a far, far edgier subject, you know, than Jon Stewart usually touches.
in Gaza. So
It's not even passive. It's not passive aggressive. It's like circuitous rage, but like being delivered with comedy. It's not sarcasm isn't doing it justice. I don't know.
I asked him. I told him, when Israel give you the nice warning, the cute warning, does Hamas force you to stay in your home so you can be bombed and use as human shield? You know what? Hassan here, my wife's cousin. He's a loser. You know. He told me. You know, when I asked him, does that happen? He told me no. The lying son of a bitch lied to me. I told him, you don't understand. Ben Shapiro and Ron DeSantis keep saying that Israel warns you and Hamas asked you to stay put. So I told you, he's a loser. He never kept a job. He even like failed in all of the interviews to become like a human shield. I would believe Ben Shapiro.
Let me ask you this, Bassem.
So let's go with that. No. Let me ask you
But at some point, I must be able to ask you questions. It's not a monologue for you, Bassem.
if we agree that for the 14,000
Jesus.
casualties, I mean, who's counting, are human shield, does that mean that every single one of those civilians was standing, obscuring a military target behind them? Because that's a lot of weapons. I mean, Hamas is packing.
No, of course it doesn't. And look,
So there's some collateral damage. Lots of collateral damage.
Yes.
It's fine. Yeah, you kill some to save some, and then kill some more. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
let me ask you this. Again, it comes back to proportionate response. When the world decided it had to get rid of ISIS because of the appalling butchery they were carrying out, it did so by also killing, very sadly, a lot of civilians along the way by doing airstrikes against places which
But killing civilians
ISIS
are inevitable. You said that in the beginning.
My point is,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, but once
It's
Israel has decided that they want to get rid of Hamas, and Hamas is embedded with civilian population, I'm very concerned about what's going to happen next. I've written a column tonight saying, I remember the Iraq War, which I opposed, right? I remember all this. So my question for you is, what would you think would be an appropriate response by Israel to what happened?
Well, these are years of disproportionate responses of Israel.
Right.
Did it solve the solution? Did it solve the problem? Did it work before, so it will work? What will be the surprise this time? What will be the twist that will make this work this time? What?
Did he just make a reference to what a twist? Did he?
What will be different this time? Seriously, I mean, like, this is only the last 15 years. I mean,
Hey, Midnight
because
Thrasher.
it's too many papers. I just got this. But how will this be different? And the thing is, I am so glad in the introduction that you mentioned the Iraq War. I applaud you, Piers, for saying that, because you were honest about it. You said that spreading lies like WMDs make people look at those people as less of humans, and they would accept the death of 1 million Iraqi, whether by sanctions or by invasion, right? You are a good man. This is amazing. And you know what is similar? Is when you spread the lies of 40 decapitated babies, although it was refuted. So what happens when people hear that, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
Well, who has
with a
said
certain
that?
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who has said that?
40 decapitated.
Who has said
you
that?
You have repeat.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
Never.
Ben Shapiro didn't say it?
No.
Ron DeSantis didn't say it?
Nobody has said.
Okay, Piers.
No, they
nobody
haven't.
said it?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe I am wrong. Decapitated. Here's
You're
the thing.
wrong. I've never said that.
Piers Morgan, 40 decapitated babies.
But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image.
Well,
Been said
This new revelation about 40 babies.
decapitated babies.
Ah, interesting. Here we go.
I choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Didn't.
being beheaded. And I was like, how can any human being do that to a baby? Never.
Ben Shapiro.
Curious. Curious. A liar, methinks.
What happened?
Piers Morgan telling a lie? Why, I never.
No, you're wrong. But the thing is, the same thing is happening in Iraq. Ben Shapiro once tweeted
Gaslight.
about the West Bank when
Keep
Israel
boy
continued
boss.
to build the illegal settlement. He said, 2017, Israel likes to build things, and Arabs, not Palestine, not Hamas, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Yeah, I thought that was very
the Israeli defense minister, he said, those are human animals. And the thing is, Ben Shapiro should know better because, long before the Holocaust, before Jewish people were thrown in the gas chambers, the Nazi propaganda called them rats. Now, as a human being, I will never...
My name's Piers Morgan's fact checker, and technically he didn't say 40 beheaded babies. He said 40 killed babies, some of which were beheaded. So, checkmate, liberals.
never accept that another human being thrown into a gas chamber, but a rat, kill
Damn,
10,
Archangel, good job.
kill 1,000, 3,500. They are son of a bitches. They are human animals who live in open sewage and decapitate babies. And because of that propaganda, Mr. Morgan, that guy in Illinois, the 71 years old guy, he killed, stabbing the 6 years old Palestinian kid in Illinois 26 times. And he used to play with him. They used to be friends. But
Fuck, that story broke me.
he went in, marching into their apartment, stabbing his mother and killing him, shouting, all Muslims could die.
Yeah.
It took you 80 years to change one word from Jewish to Muslim. And then you transferred your guilt to us and took away our land.
Bassem, let me ask you a question.
That deal sucks, man.
Let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. How do we get from where we are now to peace?
Well, first of all, you need to change the perception. Nikki Haley, the American presidential candidate, said, we are in Israel in this because it's a fight between good and evil. Now, if you already decided someone is good, he can do no evil. And if you decided someone is evil, it's good to kill them. Killing them is good. You see, and the thing is, it is not like something new. I mean, I look at history and I see, I'm sorry to say, and I'm sorry to say this, but Westerners has always dealt like this with indigenous people. You first treated them like savages, you know, Native American, First Nation, Aboriginal. They're savages. Kill all the savages. And then when they're almost extinct, you start feeling sorry for them, you know, like animals. So maybe the solution is that we kill as many Palestinians as possible so the few of them that remains do not bother you. And maybe Netanyahu, when he lives for another 100 years, he'll become a tree hugger.
Let me just challenge you on this.
And he will campaign for preserving the free Palestinian.
You keep talking about Westerners like me. Okay, so let me return the favor, okay? Hamas is dedicated to the complete eradication of Jewish people.
Do you condemn Hamas?
I am not the spokesman for Hamas.
I'm not saying you are.
Why do you keep...
I'm not saying you
are.
are.
The spokesman.
You're talking to me.
I fucking hate them.
Bassem,
fuck Hamas. Hamas.
No,
are you happy?
You're missing my point. You're talking in a generalized way about people in the West who always talk about Arabs as savages. I don't.
No. I'm talking about America.
I actually led the campaign. I led the media campaign
listen,
in this country against the Iraq War. Okay, so I don't see... I don't see people in the Middle East as savages.
You are one of the good ones.
But what I would say is...
I'm talking about you. You're great.
No, it's not about me
being
great.
We love you.
It's about the way Hamas behaved on October the 7th was like savages, like a pack of savages. It was the worst atrocity against Jewish people since the Holocaust. There has to be,
of course,
there has to be a response.
They should be eradicated.
My question for you is, notwithstanding the history, Bassem, what is the proportionate response?
But I don't know. But there's no Hamas in the West Bank, and they're still dying there. So what's your excuse?
I don't have any excuse.
Okay, what's your explanation? Sorry, my earpiece went down.
Listen, I don't make any pretense that this hasn't been a massive problem between Palestine and Israel going back to the mid-40s. We all know this, right?
Piers, listen. I'm not saying that you're making excuses, but if you are adopting a certain point of view, you have to at least defend it. I'm telling you, there is no Hamas in the West Bank. What is the excuse? Not your excuse. What is the excuse to kill those people?
Well, listen, this question of proportionality is one that...
No, answer my question. I've been answering your question. You answer mine.
It's actually not my job to answer your questions. It's not.
Oh.
Okay,
oh. Okay.
Not your job. I agree with you.
I'm more interested in you, who has family in Gaza, who's an Egyptian in the Middle East, right? I'm more interested in what you have to say.
Okay, I'm telling you. I think Hamas is the problem. Okay,
right
now let's say Hamas is removed. Let's Hamas. I'm agreeing with everything. You want me to condemn Hamas? I will condemn Hamas, Hummus, Hassan, everybody. Guys, so wait. I can't hear you. The earpiece. Damn. Okay. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I do.
I think. Okay. Just go back. Is he there?
You go back.
Can you hear
back? Okay. Go. Thank you, guys.
Can you hear back?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Can you hear? Okay. So let's say, for example, Hamas ceased to exist. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hamas ceased to exist today. Now, right now, in Palestine, in West Bank and Gaza. 20% of Palestinians go through Israeli prison system, whether imprisonment, whether interrogation, whether torture. And the rest of them, they live a life of daily loss of land, of homes, of life, and they are suffocated by this. So let me ask you something. If you are a Palestinian living into these conditions for decades, would you sympathize with your oppressor, or sympathize with the people who claim they resist them even if they are terrorists?
I have made no secret that I think the conditions Palestinians have had to exist under are completely unacceptable. I've said that for years. So the question then becomes,
I've said that for years. So then how do you propose to unfuck the situation? You can't just say, "Oh, that's too bad," and then move on and then be surprised when it gets worse.
how do you forge peace between two warring parts of that region who for decades have approached peace, in my view, with mutual sledgehammers, with no actual desire to have peace? And I think it comes down in the end to great leadership. And I don't think there's great leadership. I don't think, well, hang on, let me make my point. I don't think there's great leadership on either side. Where is the Nelson Mandela figure here to come through all this?
Well, the issue is that there are many Nelson Mandela figures in Gaza. It's just that they keep getting murdered. That's the issue. They keep getting killed by the IDF. They organize a peaceful protest and suddenly snipers pop out and like shoot the journalists that cover it. Like what that's what happens. They organize a protest and then they march in front of the walls of their cage and then they get shot by the IDF. That's what happens.
Nelson
Nelson
Mandela?
Yeah,
Well,
where is that
Nelson
figure?
Mandela, Nelson Mandela actually have criticized Israel for being a horrible state. All of the South African
I know.
activists have actually
My
called
point is,
Israel.
my point is
yes.
about how he responded to a country that was so divided.
What is the 1 or 2 state plan? My goodness, water down the wrong pipe. What is the 1 or 2 state plan that everyone talks about? Do you think one is better? I'm so new to this politics, the politics in Gaza. So when we talk about like a 1 state or a 2 state plan, it's not just for Gaza, it's for Gaza and the West Bank. These are 2 different locations that have been whittled down from the proposed 1967 borders. Now, the proposed 1967 border essentially splits Jerusalem in 2 and gives East Jerusalem to the state of Palestine, and it's wonky for sure. The main issue is that the lands in the 1967 borders have been steadily encroached on by Israeli settlers for the last, 60 plus years. So there are now a bunch of Israeli settlements within those borders. And also, Israeli business interests want to keep those growing because basically it's a free land grab. You go in, you bulldoze a Palestinian home, or you just take a Palestinian home. And then boom, you got free real estate. And additionally, like the people in charge of Israel do not want to partition Jerusalem. They don't want to give East Jerusalem to a Palestinian state. This is, by the way, why it was a really big deal that Trump moved the U.S. diplomatic buildings and such to Jerusalem, because it strengthens Israel's claim to the city of Jerusalem. And that's kind of the 2-state solution, right? The 1-state solution would, embassy, thank you. Streaming for 6 hours, your brain gets a little wonky. Then you have the 1-state solution, which is essentially the entire like area coming under the control of Israel, or a fusion state of Palestine and Israel. And this is essentially the main issue with that is that the powers that be in Israel, are far right and fascist powers, do not want to suddenly enfranchise millions upon millions of Palestinian people to vote. They do not want that. They do not want millions of people who are not on board with a theocratic Jewish state suddenly having the ability to vote. And so that's kind of why the far right in Israel is pretty excited about the prospect of being able to push the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip, because it means that they could essentially annex the entirety of the Gaza Strip for Israeli development. That's kind of the thinking there. And if they have to just forcibly remove them from the land or kill them all, is kind of immaterial. So, and obviously there are so many other issues. It's an immensely complicated subject. But if I'm boiling it down to those two options, those are kind of the major points of contention. There are still going to be other ones, many other ones. Like, for example, if you remember Hassan in the Hassan Piers Morgan interview we went over, talked about a right of return to Palestinians. That's in reference to how in 1948, Israel basically conducted what is known as the Nakba to the Palestinian people, which was the forcible displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians from their homes. And this act of ethnic cleansing has continued for the last, 70-ish years, 75 years. And now there are over 5 million Palestinian diaspora across the world. And one of the peace talk demands would be like a right to return for Palestinians, which would essentially be a right for Palestinians to return to either a one-state or a two-state situation. And that is something that Israel really doesn't want, for a wide variety of reasons, both because if they returned to Israel, that would enfranchise them, and that would be an issue. And if they returned to a Palestinian state, that could potentially be something that, presents like a security risk to them or something. And, basically anything anything in a two-state solution that Palestine would do would be perceived as like a security threat or whatever, which is, again, why Israel doesn't want a two-state solution. It's very complicated. They lied and said they could return, but then they couldn't, right? I mean, in some cases, but in a lot of cases, there were just like massacres of Palestinian towns, and that caused the neighboring towns to flee. Essentially, there would be terrorist attacks, and by groups like the Lahi, which was a paramilitary organization that was active at the time. They would do attacks on Arab villages, and the surrounding villages around there would be like, oh shit, everyone that we knew in the next town over just died. We're going to leave because otherwise we're going to get massacred too. And so enough of these occurred that, again, hundreds of thousands of people fled the region. Yeah. So in some cases, they were lied to. In other cases, it was just pure barrel of the gun motivation.
Is a
I don't know. I haven't.
template for how you get to peace, isn't it?
I haven't met Nelson Mandela, so I wouldn't know. But like there is a point. There's a very important point here. You know, I want to understand what is the logic of Israel carpet.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing your comment right here, Foxy Cheshire. Similar to the Native Americans in America, like how the colonizers took more and more and still take from them, actually. Yeah. No, it's very, very similar to that. The main the main slight difference is that it would be like if in America you were like and you were if it'd be like if you were in America on a indigenous reservation and you could not leave, and your travel between different parts of the reservation was controlled, and also every day there were more and more people coming in protected by the US military who were continuing to build like settlements, making your reservation smaller and smaller and smaller over time. And if you tried to do anything about it, again, the US military would just kill you. If you got too close to the edge of the reservation, they'd also kill you. Like, it would be like that. It's really, really bad. And reservations are already bad, you know? So
bombing Gaza. I mean, if there's a logic, if it is a good, if this will make Israel safe, I want to hear the logic. So if they continue bombing, what are they hoping to achieve?
Well, I think we know what their stated aim is. Their stated aim is to eradicate and wipe out Hamas. They believe Hamas are living predominantly in northern Gaza. They also are aware they're living amongst civilians. So it's an incredibly difficult thing. As I said in my monologue, you know, it is very, very difficult to see how they do this without massive collateral damage.
How about working together and trying to learn to live with the stronger nation? Well, that would also be an excellent idea, Acrobatus. The main issue is that in order to complete the analogy, you would also have to add in the fact that you know, the U.S. government would be funding a group inside the reservation that is explicitly founded on the principles of wiping out all Americans, and basically using any violent outburst from that group to justify further annexation of like the reservation, which is what Hamas is. Hamas is funded by the Israeli government. So that's kind of the issue. Yeah, and there is very much a manifest destiny type rhetoric going on in Israel. Like that's basically in a nutshell the idea of Zionism, if you really want to boil it down and make it American.
So if I can understand this correctly, basically Israel is doing this to pressure the Palestinian community in Gaza to turn against Hamas. Is that right?
I'm sure that's part of it, yes.
That's part of it. So this is exactly what terrorist organizations do, because terrorist organizations will have no chance beating a whole nation in battle. So they terrorize and they kill the civilians in order to spread fear and terror so they can turn against their government to change their policy or to resign. You have just compared Israel with ISIS.
No, I haven't. I don't see any comparison between.
It's going to be the headlines tomorrow. Piers Morgan, Israel is ISIS.
Only amongst people who weren't listening. The comparison, which is more apposite, is ISIS and Hamas. They are both nihilistic terror groups intent on killing as many Jewish people and others as they can possibly kill. And you can't get peace with people like that.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to do something that nobody done on your television. You know what I'm going to do on your episode? I'm going to pretend that I'm an Israeli citizen. I'm going to put myself in the place of an Israeli settler in the kibbutz. And I want to speak to my Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, I have voted for you because you have promised us peace and prosperity and security. On the 7th of October, those son of bitches Hamas, they went into the fence that is regularly heavily guarded. Usually if there's like a dove that comes close to it, it will be shot. Those people went in and they went for 6 hours before IDF forces was deployed, killing our friends, our families, kidnapping our grandmothers and babies, and went in. I want to ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, after you have fractured the Israeli community and you have fucked our courts, our Supreme Courts, what are you doing with the money being given to you, to the United States? Also, you are carpet bombing Gaza with absolutely no regard to our hostages, our people. I heard a rumor in the kibbutz that you're doing that you let that happen as an excuse to carpet bomb Gaza, so you push them into Sinai. And I didn't believe it. It's like, not my prime minister. He can never do that. And then I watched an interview for Danny Ayalon. He was your chief advisor. He was also the Israeli ambassador to the United States. And you know what he said, Mr. Prime Minister? He said that the solution for those Palestinians is to go into a vast land of Sinai and live into tent cities temporarily, temporarily, wink wink, until we build Gaza again, and then we invite you back. يعني عبط احنا بقى. يعني فاهمني؟ We've seen this movie before. So يعني, and when I saw this, I couldn't explain to my fellows in the kibbutz, how come our Israeli government is trading human lives for another piece of land? So as an Israeli citizen, I need to hold my Israeli government accountable. And as an American citizen, I want to know all of these money that we are giving to Israel. We're giving them $4 billion every year. Joe Biden said it's the best investment America ever done. Well, if I am in the place of Joe Biden, I would say, sorry, don't speak. I would say, if I was Joe Biden, I would go down and whisper in the ears of Netanyahu and tell them, I hate bad investments. They haunt me, like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. But the thing is, this is the problem. Israel always victimizes itself, and I have never seen a victim putting their oppressor under siege and bombing them 24/7. Israel wants you to believe that they are the victim. Dealing with Israel is so difficult. It's like being in a relationship with a narcissistic psychopath. He fucks you up, and then he makes you think it's your fault.
All right,
you
Bassem.
look at Israel as Superman, but they're really Homelander.
Bassem.
Wallahi, they are shooting
Bassem, I wanna
fish
say
in a
one
barrel,
thing.
and they are annoyed with the splashes.
Bassem, I want to say two things. One, if you could just slightly mind your language. We are uncensored, but if you keep swearing.
We are technically called uncensored, but if you say too many swear words... Okay.
Very sorry.
We have to apologize to viewers who may be offended by that.
I apologize.
But I understand passions run high,
the-
so let's not get too bogged down about the odd swear
I
word.
apologize to the viewers. I apologize to the viewers for my language.
My second
and for
question is this. After
the sight of dead civilians.
After the break, we have the managing director of the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's company. We were going to interview him on his own, but he's happy to come on and talk with you directly if you are prepared to stay.
Well, of course, I can stay, but again, I am... Fuck this. I am in a disadvantage, and I would like to have my space to respond.
Okay, we'll come back after the break.
Stay there, Bassem. Because here's the thing. There's
Bassem,
two things
we're going to go to a break.
All right.
When we come back from the break, it'll be you and Jeremy Boring from the Daily Wire.
I have news.
We're taking a short break, Bassem. I'll be back. Welcome back to Uncensored for more on the situation.
Uncensored. Anyway, time to censor you. The Homelander comparison is really on point. It really is. It really fucking is.
In Israel, I'm joined now by the CEO and co-founder of the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's partner, Jeremy Boring. Jeremy, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I'm sorry we demoted you earlier to mere MD. You are the CEO and co-founder. You know Ben Shapiro better than anyone, really. I did a big interview with Ben, obviously, the other night, which went around the world and has sparked a big reaction, including from our guest, Bassem Youssef, who's still with us. First of all, you've been listening to Bassem and what he's been saying. What's your response?
Well, first of all, I make it a point not to speak for Ben Shapiro. He's got a 20 IQ points on me and speaks for a living professionally, so he's much better prepared to defend himself. But as his business partner, as his best friend, I do feel like I have to respond to the things that Bassem was just saying. First of all, the question of how many sons of bitches have to be killed in order to end this conflict, I suppose that the answer is as many of them as it takes. That doesn't mean that I or Ben or any decent person in their right mind is happy with the killing of civilians. I posted at the very beginning of this conflict.
But, you know, if we're not happy with it, but we'll tolerate it. We'll tolerate it. I mean, if you gotta kill, you know, 1 million children in Gaza in order to kill all those members of Hamas, I mean, we're willing to tolerate it. Apparently.
Conflict that a woman or a child blown apart in Gaza is just as
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's deranged. I'm not happy about it, but we'll kill millions of them if we have to. What?
tragic as a Jewish baby killed in one of the settlements. That doesn't mean that Israel's actions and the actions of Hamas are morally equivalent. You know, the tragedy is the tragedy, but the moral equivalency is nonsense. If you entered Israel with the express purpose of targeting and murdering civilians with your own hands in cold blood, that is not comparable to Israel bombing targets in the Gaza Strip.
I mean, it's somewhat comparable. You know, it's somewhat comparable.
Hey, maybe don't do fascism.
True. Excellent idea, Kyryu, and thank you very much for gifting Zen and Monica sub. But like, I mean, like, we don't want to kill civilians, but you know, if you gotta drop a bomb on an apartment complex and kill like, you know, 20 Palestinian mothers in order to get one Hamas soldier, I think it's worth it. Like, this is psycho behavior, dude. Are you saying that Hamas can hide behind 1 million civilians and they can do terrorist acts and nothing can do about it? Well, you could go in and just fight Hamas, or you could go to the negotiating table and negotiate a two-state solution. You could do one of those things. Both of those things do not involve killing, indiscriminately bombing a country that is, a strip of land. It's not officially a country, full of 2.2 million people. Go into the city to fight Hamas? Sure. Sure. There will be less civilian victims? Yeah, less civilian victims than indiscriminately bombing a populated city. Yeah. Wait. Acrobatus, do you think that dropping white phosphorus on a densely populated civilian center, do you think that is good? Because the IDF has done that multiple times now. There have been 3 confirmed usages of it in Gaza City. Do you know what white phosphorus does? It drops an incendiary that spreads over a wide swath of land, igniting fires, exploding vehicles, etc. And if you are anywhere near it, it burns you from the inside out. Did you know that white phosphorus have differentiations? Well, yes, I do, actually. I actually know a lot about the usage of white phosphorus. Thank you for asking. White phosphorus is only legal to use, like, by international law, if you're using it to obscure military action. If you're using it to just drop on a civilian population, a densely populated civilian center, you are doing an internationally condemned war crime. There's no gray area about that, actually. It's just a war crime. If you dropped a bunch of napalm on New York City, do you think you can target that to only hit, the Bloods or the Crips? Do you think that can happen? Do you think you can, like, do a tactical strike with a incendiary weapon? No, you can't. You can't do that, actually. And you know what else? We know that their healthcare centers are being bombed. And I'm sorry, if you, like, just to make this in the simplest possible terms, if a criminal runs into an alley and puts a gun to a hostage's head, and the police show up and they all have their guns out, and they're like, we need to save the civilians, and then they just unload on the hostage. Yeah, that everyone would have a problem with that. Everyone would have a problem with that. And it only gets worse the more hostages there are. If like a gunman takes control over like Nakatomi Plaza, and the police get there and just drop a bomb and level Nakatomi Plaza, well, it turns out you just killed like 100 people to kill one terrorist. People have a problem with that, actually. But for some reason, if it's, you know, if you know, you can buy, like if you put it into the context of Die Hard, right? You know, and you're like, well, if Hans Gruber had just taken over Nakatomi Plaza, but obviously the police can't just drop a bomb that levels the entire Nakatomi Plaza building. That'd be crazy. He'd kill all the hostages. And there'd be so much collateral damage to the building. That's crazy. Only an insane person would solve a problem like that. That's how the IDF solves all of their problems in Gaza. That's how the IDF solves all of their problems. Oh, well, you know, the Hamas might have tunnels beneath this hospital. So we've got to either bomb the hospital that is full of patients and kill potentially 500 of them, for example. This is just a hypothetical, you know? Or we have to force them out at gunpoint in order to, you know, we vacate the hospital, in which case many of the patients will die, so we can bomb the hospital. Again, this is, your position is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. And what you are doing is justifying war crimes. You are no different to me than someone who in like Nazi Germany was like, well, what do we do with the Jews? They're just doing so many crimes. You know, I heard that they do a lot of really bad shit. You know, my cousin's girlfriend, you know, told me that a Jew once sucked her blood. You know, they're doing awful shit. They control all the money. We gotta get them out of here. You're no different, and you're like, oh, well, what do you expect us to do? What do you expect us to do? We gotta kill all of them. Fucking insane behavior, man. Their current plan is explicitly ordering the ethnic cleansing of northern Gaza. They are saying, you need to leave northern Gaza or we will kill you. And when you move civilian populations like that, that is called ethnic cleansing. Definitionally, that is what that is. And you're over here being like, well, what are they supposed to do? Not ethnically cleanse an entire area? And like, yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to not do that. It's actually pretty easy to not ethnically cleanse millions of people. It's not cleansing. My dude, are you sure about that? Do you know what ethnic cleansing is? Can you define ethnic cleansing for me, Acrobatus? Can you define it for me, please? Can you maybe break it down a little bit? Can you maybe break down what you think that means? Real quick. Should be pretty easy. It's a semantics troll. Yeah, I mean, if it's a semantics troll, they've picked a very easy argument for me to win. So you actually saying that Israel have to go to Gaza, ground invasion, and no civilian can leave there will be less victims. That's insane. Well, actually, civilians should be able to leave. The issue is Israel doesn't let them leave. None of them can leave through any of the border crossings with Israel. Israel could open literally any of them, and they choose not to. Okay? Additionally, what I'm saying is there are many other options on the table aside from ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. There are other possibilities, like, for example, pursuing diplomatic talks. It's just that the Israeli government doesn't want to do that. The people in power in Israel don't want a diplomatic solution to this problem. They want to kill the people in the Gaza Strip. That is what they want to do. That is what they are saying they want to do, and that is what they are doing. But just real quick, because again, you said this isn't ethnic cleansing. This isn't ethnic cleansing. Well, let's take a look. Here's the European Commission. Ethnic cleansing definition: rendering an area ethnically homogeneous by using force or intimidation to remove from a given area persons of another ethnic or religious group, which is contrary to international law. What do you think Israel giving an order to 1.1 million Palestinians to leave an area is? Otherwise, they will kill them. It is definitionally ethnic cleansing. Definitionally ethnic cleansing by any metric that you can use that is recognized internationally. How would a police force resolve a similar issue? Do they just blow up the neighborhood? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, it's totally reasonable. You know, if somebody commits a crime in your area, you all have to, you know, leave your neighborhood. It has to be burned to the ground in order to catch that criminal. Sorry. Yeah, again, a lot of these chuckle fucks only want it to be called genocide or ethnic cleansing after it has already happened. They would not be satisfied with calling it genocide until, like, all 2.4 million Palestinians in Gaza had been fully and utterly destroyed. That's what cops did with the move bombing? It is. It is. And also, it was fucking terrible. Didn't have people legitimately trying to defend ethnic cleansing on my 2023 bingo card, but here we are. Well, you know, Israel's defending ethnic cleansing at the moment. That's the official position of the Israeli state, so... Also, you want them to leave via the Egyptian corridor that hasn't been agreed on yet? So it's not open for refugees? And also it's being bombed by Israel? You want them to leave via that corridor? Just move, Fivehead. Goodness. Absolutely mental. Anyway, I forgot we were watching a video. Also, hello, Raiders from Homozygote. Welcome. Real quick, before we continue. Hello. My name's Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics. You should come hit that follow button, get comfy. We got a few more minutes of content here. You mentioned diplomatic option. If Israel wants Hamas dead, what those diplomatic discussions would look like? Well, first of all, if Israel wanted Hamas dead, then the best way probably to do that wouldn't be to have officially funded them and have Netanyahu's support behind them. That would probably help a lot, actually. Fun fact: Netanyahu approved over $1 billion moved to Hamas over the course of like 6 years, I think. That's pretty crazy. So maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, if you wanted Hamas to not be as powerful and not capable of doing violence on the scale that it is, you shouldn't give them $1 billion. That's my controversial opinion there. You know? Very controversial opinion. Well, if Israel wants Hamas dead, what do those diplomatic discussions look like? Again, not funding them. Israel created this situation explicitly by funding Hamas and by, running the world's largest open-air prison. So if the answer that you're looking for is fight Hamas, then the answer to that is, frankly, fight Hamas. But you don't indiscriminately bomb civilians to do it. Like, again, like you can bring all of this up. You could be like, oh, what does that look like? Well, you can fight them and not kill civilians. Like that's the other answer you have. The question is not about funding. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm sorry. The question isn't about funding. Are Hamas able to just shit rockets out of their butts? Like, when you join Hamas, do you just get this magical ability to, like, shit a rocket out of your ass? Or like you can just, like, kind of, like, piss bullets? Those just come out of nowhere? That's crazy, dog. Wow, they can do so much with no funding. My discussion is, what would those discussions look like? Well, so you can talk to Hamas and convince them to lay down their arms by, maybe agreeing to 1967 borders. You could try doing that. Hamas actually has diplomatic channels. I don't know if you know this. They have diplomatic channels. Now, you might say, but Hamas would never agree to anything like that. Well, fun fact, there are actually non-violent organizations, political organizations, active in the Gaza Strip. One of them is the Palestinian National Initiative. The PNI is an explicitly peaceful organization. They are dedicated to nonviolence. And when you listen to the head of the PNI talk about this, turns out a lot of people in the Gaza Strip are way more interested in having a two-state solution than they are in supporting Hamas. Most people in the Gaza Strip do not support Hamas because they are, in a lot of ways, bad and antithetical to Palestinian liberation, which is why they are funded by the Israeli government. So you're like, oh, what would these negotiations look like? Well, they would look like, making concessions and, negotiating with a country. That's what it would look like. It would look like diplomatic relationships with another country. And it would also require concessions on both sides. If you wanted a nonviolent solution, that's why. But you know what? That doesn't feel as good, does it? It doesn't feel as good. So you gotta kill every single member of Hamas. And if you gotta kill 1 million babies to do it, if you gotta kill 500,000 children to kill Hamas, well, I mean, Acrobatus has shown us that that's totally fine. Diplomatic relationship with a terrorist organization? Well, they're a terrorist organization that has de facto control over the Gaza Strip. So either you negotiate with them, or you do what is being done right now, and that is kill potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of civilians. Now, Acrobatus, is there a line for you? Like, if killing Hamas meant you had to kill all 2.4 million Palestinians, is that like, are you just like, yeah, kill all of them? Or is there like a line? Is there like a certain number of Palestinians that you are uncomfortable with killing? $200,000? Oh, okay, so 200,000 is the line. How many of them can be children? Do children count double? Do they count as half? Do they count as one? They said 200,000? Yep, they said 200,000. They don't? Oh, children don't count. Well, that makes your math very unfair. That means you can that means you are in favor of killing half the Palestinian population of Gaza with like no repercussions whatsoever? Zero? Oh, but my guy, half the population of the Gaza Strip are under the age of 18. Half the population of Gaza are children. Over 1 million of them are children. What's the line for you to stop a terrorist organization? Well, I looked at, early in my life, I lived through the United States deciding to invade the Iraq and Afghanistan, where we killed, over a million civilians. And I think that was pretty bad. And I don't think it stopped terrorism, actually. I think when you invade to kill a terrorist group, you wind up killing a lot of civilians and creating a lot more terrorists. The invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan was one of the triggers for the formation of a group called ISIS. And turns out, the Taliban, they control Iraq now. That's crazy. It's almost like when the United States went and killed 1 million Iraqis in their invasion, it didn't actually stop the terrorism and just killed over 1 million civilians. I think that's pretty bad, actually. So I'd probably look for a different solution. So, yeah, I guess my response to that is just, I don't think necessarily that the solution is to indiscriminately kill until you think you've killed enough people from a given organization, because that typically hasn't worked out very well in the past. You see, I answer real quick. You can't because you're acting. Well, no, I'm giving you an explanation for my answer as I answer. It's called having like an actual logic to a response instead of just like shitting out. Oh yeah, I'm okay with 200,000 people dying. Yeah, okay, bud. You're a deeply unserious actor. It's an act. The only one acting here is you, bud. You're like this sad, pathetic person who thinks that like you've got it figured out because you can just casually condemn 200,000 people to death. You're like you think you're better. You think you're better. than those people being slaughtered out there like animals. Not you see, you are the one who does the acting here. You come into my chat and you act all confused. Like, "Oh, why can't Israel slaughter millions of people in order to kill Hamas? I don't understand." And then you're like, "Well, it would only be okay if they killed 200,000." And like you're just sitting there like shitting in your whatever diapers you wear, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm better. I'm better than those people dying who were just trying to get by and whose only real crime was being born in the Gaza Strip." And your act is pretending that you're better and you have any right to be saying like who should live and who should die. Like, what's wrong with you? What like I'm curious, like what broke you? Still not answering the question, how many people would you sacrifice to stop a terrorist organization? Well, that depends on a lot of factors. What is the terrorist organization doing? Who's deciding they're terrorists? How many are there? What damage have they done? Did this terrorist organization murder, several thousand people? Did they murder like men, women, and children? Like what? How big is it? I'll ask you some concrete questions. Like how big is it? What are we talking like are there like 500,000 people in this are there 500,000 terrorists? I'm just throwing out a number. Like should we say that it's a 500,000 terrorists? Come on, I thought you were fast. I thought this wasn't an act. Come on. Chip chop chip. Chip chop chip. I thought it wasn't an act. You were so fast. Can we say that there are 500,000 terrorists? I'm just trying to establish a simple goddamn hypothetical. Hurry, I'm typing up my hypothetical. The real question is, why isn't the Israeli government considered a terrorist organization? Ah, you didn't answer the question fast enough. Sad day. Or did you just purge their messages? Or are they banned? I can't tell. Chip chop chip. They got timed out? For how long? It didn't send me like a message to tell me how long they got timed out. I just saw the timeout happened. 86,000 seconds. Okay. Damn it. I had lined up an entire, like, I was going to lead him through the hypothetical, and then the hypothetical would be like, okay, so, what I just described to you is the IDF and how many people they've just killed in Gaza. How many soldiers are Palestinians now, legally allowed to kill? That's the type of argument he's trying to make here, Racist didn't feel right. Well, I mean, obviously Acrobatus is like a fascist who is totally fine with genocide. Like the kind of guy who would have sat back during the Holocaust and been like, Ah, yes, we finally got rid of those treacherous Jews. Well, like hummed by like the Warsaw Ghetto. Regardless of the specifics, dealing with terror groups in the conventional and promoted ways is unproductive at best, and at worst harms and causes more damage. Yeah, exactly. Like, we didn't get rid of the Taliban. The Taliban now control the entire goddamn country in Iraq. Trolls are immune to logic. Yeah, but it would have been fun for me. It would have been fun for me to walk through that line. You know, it would have been fun to get that far and see them get really angry. But whatever. Again, these people are miserable and absolutely frothing at the mouth for the blood of innocent people.
And killing civilians is a terrible, tragic consequence. War is terrible. War is an awful thing. That's why decent people don't lightly engage in war.
War is a terrible thing. Therefore, we should kill half the Palestinians.
And why Hamas should not have incited this war. You know, we
But
can
Jack,
talk about
do you
the
condemn
history of the
chat?
Israeli
I condemn all of chat for the actions of the one.
conflict. I'm not a professional political commentator. I'm a CEO. I'm a screenwriter, and I'm certainly not Ben Shapiro. I'm not here to discuss the history of the Israeli
Well, you're certainly not Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro doesn't screenwrite anymore. Hey!
Palestinian conflict, but we all saw what happened on October 7th. And the idea that Israel was not going to react severely to that, or that Israel should not react severely to that, is ludicrous. And
Jeremy,
the
let me ask you
that
the
Ben Shapiro
question.
should be a moderating voice, that Ben Shapiro should be saying no, Israel should not respond in this situation. That's nonsense.
Let me ask you though, Jeremy. The question, which I think is the big question: what is a proportionate response to that outrage on October the 7th, which is the worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust? What is proportionate? If it's true, as reports are suggesting tonight, that there may have been a hospital hit by an Israeli strike and up to 500 people or more have died, that would seem to me, if that is verified, and it's not verified yet, we don't know exactly what has happened other than there's been a hit on this hospital. But if that is verified to have been an Israeli strike, that will strike many people as disproportionate.
Certainly. Well, first of all, I don't know what a proportionate response is or why we would want it. I suppose a proportionate response would be for 3,000 Israelis to go through the fence, gun down innocent Palestinian women and children, burn their bodies, burn them alive, take hostages, rape their women. No one wants a proportionate response. No moral person could possibly call for a proportionate response. The purpose of war is to defeat your enemy.
I got bad news for Jeremy Boring.
West has, in my lifetime, forgotten the purpose of war because the true cost of war is so terrible. The last time the West engaged in war and won it was World War II, and they did it through incredible brutality. They did it by bringing their enemies to heel. That is not a thing to That's not a thing to rah-rah about. That's not a thing to look forward to. As I said, all decent people should avoid war. But I think the sort of lie of the post-World War II, the post-war consensus lie, is that somehow war in which you kill a bunch of people and don't secure victory is morally superior to war where you do secure victory. I would say that the only way to morally justify a war is to win it. Otherwise, the very argument that brought you into the war, this enemy must be defeated, ends up being proven a lie. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. This sounds very psychopathic. Like just like full on. I must kill all my enemies. I will salt their fields. I will kill their firstborn children. Like this sounds like absolutely insane.
Afghanistan, I think America had every right to go into Afghanistan. The Taliban was harboring Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda wasn't... Did we do it? Did we do it, champ? Did we manage to get rid of the Taliban in Afghanistan? How'd that go for us, buddy? Oh, it didn't go our way because we just didn't kill enough of them. We needed to kill several million more, Afghanis and Iraqis. Yeah, sure.
Al Qaeda flew planes into buildings in the United States, killed thousands of our citizens, brought the nation into.
I wonder, was Afghanistan behind that attack, Jeremy? Was Afghanistan behind 9/11? Why? I mean, I gotta say, you know, there's a really interesting fact here. I don't know how many of you know about this. If you go to Osama bin Laden's Wikipedia page here, you know, and you
To untold.
oh god, oh god, oh god, I messed it up. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Okay, all right, salvaged. If you go to Osama bin Laden's Wikipedia page here, and you zoom in a little bit, it's a funny little trick, you know. You zoom in a little bit, and oh, wait a minute. He was born in Saudi Arabia. That's crazy. Wait, he wasn't from Afghanistan? Well, I thought Afghanistan was behind 9/11. Why I never? That's crazy. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know this. This other little bit, other little bit of little bit of news. The Bin Laden family is listed as the 5th wealthiest family in Saudi Arabia. Crazy. The family's based in Saudi Arabia. That's not Afghanistan. And they have a net worth of $7 billion. Huh. Wikipedia, what do you have to say here? The Bin Laden family, also spelled Bin Laden, is a wealthy family intimately connected with the innermost circles of the Saudi royal family. Weird. That's also not Afghanistan. Almost seems like we didn't actually go after the people who were behind 9/11. You know, just throw that out there. Very strange. Anyway.
Agony, pain, and horror. America had every right morally to go in and destroy the Taliban and destroy Al Qaeda.
Yeah, but I would argue,
the Taliban now rules in Afghanistan. The war was not won.
But that's
the Taliban now rules in Afghanistan. We should have killed so many more Iraqis. He's fucking crazy. These conservatives who are so far gone to the right that they are fascists will just like casually be like, yeah, we needed to like kill all of the Iraqis. You don't get it.
My point, actually. I've done a column about this tonight for The Sun here in the UK, which is I was editor of a newspaper when the Iraq War happened. I opposed it very aggressively as the editor of the paper. And sadly, we were borne out by events. It was a complete disaster, the Iraq War, in my view. It was illegally contested, I think. And the consequences were appalling in terms of loss of life, 1 million people, in terms of ISIS being allowed to breed and create their merry hell around the world, in terms of complete dismantlement of Iraq itself as a functioning country. And I think Afghanistan, again, 20 years of attacking an enemy which is now running the country again, seemed to me.
Oh, also, did we destroy Al Qaeda? Is Al Qaeda gone? Just real quick. Is it? Oh, wait. Dates of operation: August 11th, 1988 to present. Damn, we didn't get Al Qaeda either. It's almost like trying to kill terrorist organizations is counterproductive, especially when you just kill insane amounts of civilians while trying to do it. That's wild.
Again, to be kind of pointless. And I do wonder whether Israel, in its blind fury, which I completely understand, has thought through the consequences of actually launching a full air, ground, and sea offensive into Gaza as to actually what happens at the end of that.
Well, I suppose Israel wasn't really given the opportunity to fully contemplate what the consequences of that action might be, because Israel didn't instigate this war. This war was instigated by a horrible terrorist attack on Israel, and a state is put in a position.
Well, wait a minute. They had control over, this is something that, like moms tell kids sometimes, you can't necessarily control your circumstances, but you can control how you react to them. Israel absolutely was able to formulate a plan to respond to this. Like, absolutely. Absolutely. Jack, this is funny because Demon Mama saw this last night, was wondering why Jeremy Boring had a key on his neck, and then led her to finding out about bent key, which he reacted. Yeah, bent key is so goddamn funny.
Where it has to respond. Now, one might argue that the very fact that Israel has yet to actually launch their ground invasion means that they are actually making a calculation about what the cost will be, what victory looks like.
Really? Because they've just been massing over 500,000 troops on the border of Gaza while, like, carpet bombing the entire goddamn place. Okay, not technically carpet bombing, but, like, indiscriminate bombing, absolutely.
Any rational person, any decent person can engage in a conversation about what is the appropriate response for Israel. Of course they can. But this sort of moral equivalency thing, I don't think is a sign of decency to engage in a conversation about moral equivalency.
Let me bring Bassem back in. You've been listening to this, Bassem. What's your response to what Jeremy's been saying?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the gentleman's name.
It's Jeremy Boring. He's the chief executive of...
You didn't have to put that. You didn't have to put that that emphasis on boring, Piers. You didn't have to do that.
The Daily Wire, and co-founder with Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire.
Hi, Jeremy. Please say hello to Ben Shapiro, and please tell him that I do think he is the smartest person to ever walk the earth. Thank you so much. So, as response to Jeremy, I agree with everything you said. I mean, what is disproportionate? I mean, he just used the examples from Second World War in America, showing that civilian casualty is. I mean, I heard his voice. He was very sad. And as he was telling us, it is so inevitable to kill so many civilians because it's something that we cannot avoid. I hear the sadness in his voice. And I know that it's a very difficult decision to kill all of these civilians because that's for a higher cause. And I understand. But my question, I have two questions. The question is, how can you justify the killing in the West Bank where Hamas does not exist? And if the disproportionate response during over all of these years have actually worked? What will be new this time that did not happen before? I just want to. That was my question.
Okay,
that was my question.
Yeah, Bassem has like he has a very chaotic energy. I think you're right, Sad Marsh Ghost. And I just realized what energy he reminds me of. He reminds me of like a slapstick master. Like people who were really, really good at slapstick comedy, like back in the vaudeville days in Hollywood. Like, he reminds me of someone who has, like, really great, like, facial control and, like, is able to, like, pull off very nuanced movements with his body while, like, being able to just, like, verbally eviscerate somebody. Yeah, he reacts, like, he has a physicality to, like, how he reacts to things, which is very, like, it's very engaging. Yeah, Dr. Trifecta. I remember hearing about his talk show.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna ask.
so now
Bassem, I have
if
to-
I ask the question, can I say something on my side?
Well,
a little
you've,
bit
no,
personal.
Bassem, with
A
respect, you
little
had
bit personal.
Bassem, with respect, I gave you half the show to have your side. Jeremy's had a lot less time. I am going to have to
You
move
want me
on.
to leave?
Bassem,
Or do you want me to stay?
I'm going to have to let you go because we've been on air with you for 40
Oh,
minutes
okay.
now.
Bye
all right?
bye.
But listen,
Bye bye. Bye
I would
bye.
like to talk to you again, and
Bye-bye.
thank you for joining the program. I appreciate it.
Oh, by the way, my wife's family is all right, and they sent us a house. It's bombed. It's beautiful. It's gonna be a good like Halloween theme. So
Well,
thank you.
I'm very sorry for what your family's going through in Gaza, and I mean
Oh,
that
no.
very sincerely.
By the way, I don't know. I
Jesus.
don't know I don't know him. By the way, I haven't actually met them. They didn't even come to my wedding. They couldn't because they are stuck in Gaza,
Okay.
and she never saw them because Gaza is not a destination.
Bassem, as I say,
we hear their voices, and it's they die. It's fine. It's fine.
Bassem, I wish your family all the very best. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
I don't. Thank you.
I do really appreciate that this video does not continue with Jeremy Boring. I'm glad that ended right there. But also, god damn, we're going with a Halloween theme as he shows a picture of his family's bombed out house. I really hope this isn't a milkshake duck situation where like I find out tomorrow that actually he has like a long association with like the Ku Klux Klan or something. Finding out that Mark Lamont Hill like is in deep with like Louise Farrakhan was very disappointing.